Welcome, the good people. You are now tuning in live and direct to the Brew Table Talkz, where we as a collective discuss topics ranging all across the board. A place where brews that are like-minded come together and build. Welcome.
Shalom, shalom, family.
What it do?
We back here with another one of Brew Table Talks.
You already know.
We got an interesting topic at hand. Masculinity. What does it mean to be a masculine man? Can you be in tune with your divine feminine and divine masculine and still be considered a man?
Sheesh.
we got something special for y'all, but you know how we like to kick it off. All right, show them that song, man. Show them what we got.
Man, the paradigm is definitely shifting out here. So we got to be full aware what side of the shift we on.
It's straight topsy-turvy out here.
Man.
Want to say greetings to the whole chat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. His will is real. We see your family.
We see you, Dion Grace.
Shalom, shalom.
And everyone else in the clouds being shy, shalom. And everyone who catches on playback, shalom.
Mm-hmm.
All right, show them how this paradigm is shifting. All right.
Got you out.
What? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Paradigm shifting, the bill is uplifting, but I am not drifting through God's grace. I'm gifted like fabrics, I'm knitted, got faith in the fittings. Yeshua, I'm spitting metaverses metaphorically, rhyming. I'm giving the blind sight to see, displaying divinely artistry, manifesting everything I believe. So I achieve. Anything is probable with the Most High. Anything is possible. Paradise, paradox, parallel, paragon, perpetuated, paranoia, parasite, parabon, prayers penetrating, peace, shalom. Yeah. Yasharala, we rise. Lotus of blessed be the wise. Tribally vibe. Priest of my hood, the word verified. Hit from the heavens. Supplication, reveling dwellings. Oh Lord, thou art my west and my comfort I resting. Abba Yah flexing. What? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm in the paradigm with the plan and time. Gotta persevere, praising poet mind. So as I walk through the valley, the trials, the troubles, I count it all joy, the tribulations. I send forth my praises, they keep me humble. Even though I stumble, I keep my head up. The going gets tough. Persistently demonstrating, be consistent. No man is perfect. Progression is worth it. Practice what's worth it. You can see that you could be dreaming, becoming reality. Why touch the sky, paint the galaxy? Miracles happen every day. Be hate and faith, treasures abundantly. The paradigm, patterns of belief. The veil is uplifting, but I am not drifting through Yah's grace. I'm gifted like fabrics, I'm knitted. What? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Paradigm shifting, the bell is uplifting, but I am not drifting through Yah's grace. I'm gifted like fabrics, I'm knitted, got faith in the fittings. Yeshua, I'm spitting. Yeah.
Metaverses metaphorically,
creating divinely artistry.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Man, paradigm is definitely shifting, man. Pendulum is swinging.
Big con. Well, what we here to do today?
You gonna let men be men?
Hey, and you would think that's what society would want, but
Yo, don't you remember when they said, "Oh, they are boys, just let them be boys"? What happened to that?
Man, they're men. Let them be men. No, let's.
Oh man, bro, that is interesting. Like you don't hear that no more. Oh, why you gotta go deal with bugs, Jeremy? Don't you understand? That's just nasty.
Oh my goodness.
Why you always making sandcastles playing with Legos? Don't you want to go read a book? Oh man, bro, it's interesting. You know about that silent pillar I was talking to you about the other day. I don't want to bring it up here because might trigger something. But to say that certain movements in the past, I feel as though their whole entire objective was to destroy masculinity, and it seems to be very successful. And I want to say seems because we're going to get into the details of like how masculinity operates and moves when it sees a threat, right? On how it either removes the threat forcefully or by aversion. And that's just typically how it's done. But how you doing? How's the chat doing today, bro?
Man, it's another y'all blessed day. Another day to walk out here in our purpose, displaying full qualities that the Most High made us to be, men, Can't speak about nobody else agenda.
But what do you feel your purpose has changed, Ak? You was born with this purpose, but tomorrow you're gonna do this purpose.
Cut it out, Ak. Cut it out.
They trying to cut it off. They trying to cut it off.
And then shoot, you gonna be looking around in society trying to find somebody to squish a bug.
Oh man, bro. I mean, the bug is just the cherry on the top, man. Because to say that this economy, bump that. This world right now looks like they're trying to start World War III out here, bro. So I mean, they're gonna need a man more than just a squish a bug.
Oh no!
Oh man, it is what it is, man. It's man. I wish I would have got the video clip, but apparently there's people out here who thinks that men and women, like this goes both ways. I want to say it for the man's portion, that a man can be in tune with his divine masculine and divine feminine, and a woman's supposed to be in tune with her divine masculine and her divine feminine. Like, first off, can we just drop the divine? I mean, there's only one divine in this chat right now. It's Divine Lee.
Man, I be feeling some type of way when I hear that, man.
Oh man, let me stop. But it is interesting, like how everything has to be divine. But then I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, I'm like, well, if you have a male vessel and she has a female vessel, wouldn't that female vessel have a higher affinity with femininity than any masculinity? And when masculinity was brought into that vessel, it actually starts changing, right? And then and same thing with the men. It's like, well, if you have a male vessel and your vessel has a higher affinity for masculinity, don't you think your vessel is going to start changing you to be all extra feminine? And I mean, like, there's been plenty of studies in science that shows like what happens with increase in estrogen and increase in testosterone in the opposite sexes and what that does to their body. Like, literally, I wish I would have thought about this because I would have put it in a slide. I would have put it in a slide. But just radical differences that started taking place. Mood switches, strength, bone density. Like, your body literally just starts changing when you act outside of what your vessel has the affinity for.
Do many people know that, though? Are many people aware of what type of, let's just say, attributes or qualities that they display that ultimately becoming that? So in this world, bro, you already know why I'm about to hit that. They want men to display feminine qualities. What do you think these men are gonna become?
Exactly. I'm gonna say it like this, man. As soon as when we could look down and say, "Oh, I don't know what I am no more." Oh man. See, and I think that they're not going to understand this until actually we get a little bit deeper into masculinity and talking about that one slide, how masculinity only exists with distinct roles. But before I put the carriage before the horse, let's get into it, bro.
Come on.
All right, let's help. It is. All right. Crucial talking points that we're going to hit on. Masculinity. What is it? How is it rejected? Now is it exiting? See, like just these things alone, right? We have to understand if we define masculinity, right? Then we need to understand, well, is that something that's conducive in the society, or is it being shunned and rejected and then later on destroyed? So now where's masculinity going to do? What is the typically manly thing to do that's not quote unquote toxic? You know what I'm saying? Just like how there's, what's crazy? There's a such thing as toxic masculinity, but there's no such thing as toxic femininity, even though it exists.
Because toxic femininity is toxic masculinity, because they just combine it with they become divine and into it.
Well, I'm gonna say like this: how can it be toxic if it's divine?
Sheesh.
Oh no, bro! This world, bro. We're in some strange times. We are in some strange times. Man, come sit at the table, man. We gotta laugh at this world and also get the brothers and sisters straight. We gotta have some good laughs, and we gotta eat some good food. Oh man, let's get that back up real quick. All right, let's get into it though. Let's get into it.
So masculinity.
Enlighten us.
What is it, man? How we gonna talk about something and we don't even have the full definition or description of what it entails? We over here just searching up videos on YouTube and seeing, people acting masculine. That's wrong. But y'all already know what we love to do over here. We break it down. Masculinity is the qualities or attributes regarded as characteristics of men. Let's just meditate on that right quick. Let me, brother to brother, man to man, what is the quality or characteristics that you portray?
Wow. Okay. Intelligence, critical thinking, strength, progression, and emotional control. Creative, right? Actually, I have many videos on it and do it quite often. Leadership, right? Let's see. Compassionate, empathetic. A lot of these things I have with authority is how I do it and execute all of them. What about you, Art?
Hey, and taking away from the same talking points, man, being a leader, being someone who's looked at as having strength, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually as well. Since we're going to add in the talks of, hey, we all bruised here. We know where we come from, man. If we ain't got that spiritual strength, how we going to make sure that we're guided in the physical? Being a man and having the characteristics of creating, building, like you said, you're not giving away to emotions. You have that stability of control within yourself, not having your feelings override how you operate in this life. Would you be saying
no
facts over feelings?
Facts over feelings, but when it's interesting when women hear this, they think that means we have no emotions, right? And not to really throw shade or slight at women, but the way that a man thinks is very different than the way that a woman thinks and acts, right? Now, we're not saying that all women are just this irate, irrational, unstable creature that only is emotional. No. What we are saying is this. Something happens. Let's say, for instance, I'm just going to say an accident happens, right? Now, the way that a woman and a man is going to perceive the situation is two different things. A woman's going to be like, oh my heart goes out, and then their actions, right? But a man is going to be like, these actions is me showing my heart goes out. Two different things, even though we could do the same action, right? But us doing the same action, there's two different perceptions on how to handle this with in accordance to how we feel, right? That's the difference. That's a huge difference. And that's the innate thing with women. That's an innate thing with men. Nothing really wrong with it. But now when you tell men they're supposed to grieve before we do the actions to show us in grievance, it don't make sense to us.
Let's keep on moving along with this definition of masculinity. Appreciate you, Ak, for sharing your insight. So, masculinity is also described as the social expectations of being a man. The term masculinity refers to the roles, behaviors, and attributes that are considered appropriate for boys and men in a given society. Masculinity is constructed and defined socially, historically, and politically rather than being biologically driven.
Whoa. So I want to address some things that's in this quote, right? Is that in our next slide, we're going to talk a little bit more about it, but it's what's accepted, right, or appropriate in a given society. Well, we go with that train of thought. You can say the modern man is masculine, but we all understand that there's something lacking from his masculinity, right? And then the other one was it's not driven by biology. Well, if that's the case, once again, if a male has a higher affinity for masculinity than a woman does, and a woman has a higher affinity for femininity, right, then there are certain ways you're going to conduct yourself as a man versus a woman, which then does make it biologically attached, right? And it's also interesting that it says historically. So I bring that definition back up real quick because there's some things in here that I don't even think they realize that they conflicted upon itself.
Most definitely.
Right? It says masculinity is constructed and defined socially, historically, and politically. Right? Well, historically, there's more history than we have in the current moment, right? So historically, masculinity has always been attached to the male. Boom. That's an in right there to this, whether or not it's just a social or something that you can decide and given in a social society, right? And then politically, historically, men have always been masculine in politics, in the way that they think, in the way that they conduct themselves, right? And how they communicate with others. So politically, I mean, when you add history, right, it encompasses all three other aspects, which they say socially and politically, right? It encompasses all of them because history has all three of them, right? So just looking at that alone, they just told you that masculinity doesn't change. It's the same thing. And even though modernly we want to say that it's not biologically driven, historically we have always said it's been biologically driven.
As soon as you're born, what is between your legs to decide whether you're a man or a woman? That's drives your biological force, you would think.
Yes. But then they would like to say that, well, I'm a woman, so I'm stuck being feminine. And it's just like, so when do we get to a point that we looked at our vessel, right, at our body, and we was like, man, it sucks that I'm a male or that I'm a female. When did that happen? Right? Because that's when masculinity started being encroached. When did there become a power struggle? Right? Because I want to tell you, historically, it was a lot more violent if there was a power struggle for anything.
Some actions were actually being taken place. And let me hit on this definition too, because just reading it again, I was able to pick up on the same things. And so they said that masculinity refers to the roles, behaviors, and attributes that are considered appropriate. What is the consideration in this day and age of what is appropriate for boys and men?
For let me use one of their terms.
There seems to be no standard.
So I was about to use one of their terms from the Alphabet Gang, and I don't want to trigger any algorithms. But I want to say, for anyone who knows it, CIS, right? And then I'm going to leave that there, male, right? Or we're going to say a straight male, right? But they got their own little acronyms that they like to use, right? A straight male is not supposed to be certain that he's straight, right? That is what they want us to be like in society. They want everyone to think that everything's on a spectrum, right? And on a spectrum of not, okay, I'm a man, but I could like cooking and baking. That's fine. That doesn't really make me feminine. Now, once I put on this maid outfit, this maid apron, right, and I start speaking, hi, come into the shop. You know, once when I start doing all this, yeah, now you're feminine, sir. I can't even call you sir. Should I call you it? Because you sound confused, right? But then they took that and they're like, okay, well, obviously a man and a woman in the same role, they're going to act differently even though they have the same thing to do.
But what's appropriate though? Like, what are people considering as appropriate, man?
They say, okay, they literally became brain dead. Woman in the kitchen, cool. So if a man's in the kitchen, he must wear the apron now. Like,
wait, so stay at home dads got to breastfeed now. That's
right? And that's just like, well, hold up. Well, why don't you just not stay home and you go do what men have traditionally do so women can actually fulfill that role in its full totality, right? Like, y'all like to take divine feminine, right? But then want to disregard everything that's feminine, but they want us to say it's divine. Like, for instance, breastfeeding. A man cannot breastfeed, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes on in that time period of that child latching and dealing with its mother for milk. A man can't do those things. A man should not want to try to do these things, right? So guess what? Who is better suited to deal with this child longer than them out of the two? And then because y'all are brainwashed and said divine feminine, put it on a pedestal, then you got these weak, simple men trying to imitate femininity when they're supposed to be masculine.
I don't hurt anybody in the chat, man. Yeah,
I mean,
I see they a little quiet today, man. They a little quiet when we over here talking about some masculinity, man.
I mean, but last time I checked, when did the lion ask permission to roar?
Big facts.
And now it's like society wants us to put in a petition. Can I roar today at 5 p.m. pointing to the east? But at any second, at any moment, that lion has a vicissitude to roar, to do what it does. But it's like we have to petition when it's okay to be masculine, right? Because now women think that they are equal. Let's get into it. Bring it up.
Bro. We have to petition to display the characteristics and quality of what it means to be a man in society rather than. All right, let's get into it. My bad.
It's all good. Like, all right. To understand masculinity, the typical 5 things that you can sum it up with. Obviously, just like femininity, there's more attributes and nuances going on, but we're going to hit on the 5 main core things that you could be like, well, they're exuding this, this, and this, and this. They checking off masculinity, right? For better or for worse. Provider, strong, right? Now this could be physically, emotionally, and spiritually, but typically people like to keep it on the carnal level, dealing with strength. So we're going to stay with that one for now. Leader, right? Intelligence and confident, right? If you always look at the list of the stereotypical, I want him to be 6'2", strong, dashing, smart, right? It's there. If a man is lacking in one of these areas, they're typically lacking in other areas. Because if you're not intelligent, right, you have no propensity to be a leader. You have no propensity to be a provider, right? You just can't do them two, right? And if you are a leader or a provider and you're not trying to gain more intelligence to do your job right, you're going to become lackluster. If you don't have the confidence to do these things, right, to be a leader, because it takes a lot of confidence to be a leader and provider for any situation, because you essentially are saying, you know what, I got it in me to go do what I need to do to provide, to lead, so on and so forth. And if I don't got it in me, the confident, I'm going to learn it because I can learn, right? Which acts as that's a certain strength, right? And then, hey, if I have to protect to help along the way, I'm going to physically be able to do it, mentally or spiritually be able to do it, right? That's where the strong comes in. So they're all co-independent, right? But they're all distinct attributes that you can find in masculine men. Masculine men is not lacking in any of these areas. They're always either exuding a portion of them and pursuing great, or they're maintaining their great success from these 5 attributes.
Big facts,
but
big facts.
Let's get to how it's commonly viewed in society. In society, they want us to take the provider and make it women say, I can do it on my own. They take the strong and they say men and women are the same. They take the leader and say, you're controlling. They take the intelligence and say, you're mansplaining. They take the confidence and say, you're arrogant. Right? They have systematically came up with everything to destroy foundational pieces of masculinity. Right? And they're going to be like, well, there are people who are arrogant, who do just over-explain, right? And then we go to femininity. Well, there are some of y'all who just complain too much. There are some of y'all who just empathize too much. See, I don't like when it's vice versa and trying to point out the balance and dichotomy that must be displayed in masculinity or femininity, right? But it's okay to just do it to the man, right? It's okay. So he's supposed to take it day in and day out on whatever your takes on is on masculinity. Instead of men and women are the same, why is it hard for women to be like, you know what? Men are stronger. Let's use that, right? Let's actually create a relationship that's conducive so that men can shine, so I don't have to do something that our vessels aren't great at. Men naturally are providers. That's part of their health. Well, if they provide, why would I not help them provide, since that's naturally what they're good at, right? Not saying women can't provide, right? But y'all typically are best providing to children.
Or nurturing in that sense.
Exactly, because that's something that men are weak at. right? See, men can, most good men can actually be like, yeah, nah, there's certain things that I'm just not good at, this, and this. And y'all take it as we don't want to improve. There are some things that men just don't have a strong affinity for. And nurturing is one of them. It's on top of the list, especially when it deals with children. Not saying that we can't have good fathers, right? But
But
there's
if we all playing in our roles though, why would we even need to nurture? And so that's when we look at masculinity as something where if you have a man that is overexerting himself and you're calling him, oh, he's toxic masculinity because he's not showing any of the feminine aspects. Why is that something that's demeaned upon if you're there to be the feminine vessel?
con.
So when we talk about masculinity, it's not about us being rulerships. It's us playing our role and to the best of our ability. So that when we do come together in these unions, it's not like we're teetering and tottering within
So,
ourselves.
and maybe it's the word roles that gets under their skin, right? How about this? Playing to our strengths and letting our companion, our partner, play to their strengths to help with our weaknesses. Does that make y'all feel better? Since y'all don't like the word roles, what is this a game? Are we role playing? Because that might be the issue, right? There's a lot of words that have been so sensationalized and they have strong connotations one way or another that when people hear it, they all they see is red, right? All they see is red. They don't hear nothing else come out your mouth whatsoever. Like it'll take them like a strong 20 seconds for for them to understand you're not even talking about that whatever triggered them anymore. But now they're mad. That's where we are in society. Society and a general state, the general populace is brain dead, right? Y'all are walking zombies. As soon as y'all see flesh, y'all want to go attack, even though that flesh might have, I don't know, a machine gun lined up for you when you step 2 feet this way.
Mm.
And just like a zombie, they don't understand until their body is no longer even a corpse. That is just the current state that we're in. I hear so many illogical talking points, men and women, on things. And it's just like, well, you're only adding fire to the flame. They want to fight fire with fire. When you hear that idiom, you understand that they're using equal power. That doesn't mean they're actually using fire to fight fire. But people really do use fire to try to fight fire. And to say that's only going to make a bigger fire. It's a state that we're in. It's definitely a state that we're in. Hit him with this quote that you came up brilliantly with, because we was hitting with it just moments ago.
The masculine culture. So masculinity stands for a society in which social gender roles are clearly distinct. Men are supposed to be assertive, tough, and focused on material success. Women are supposed to be more modest, tender, and concerned with the quality of life. In masculine cultures, men hold more positions of power, get paid more, and are expected to act in a masculine manner.
Mm.
And so before we even start hitting on that nerve of saying, why are men getting paid more? Like I'm pretty sure everybody looked at that and that was probably the focus point right there, especially talking about men holding more power and strength and we're just controlling and now we're getting paid more. If we're out there doing more in society as far as the capabilities that we provide, and if we're actually being man in our own right, and then bringing back our revenues to our family when our women are supposed to be tending to and upholding the quality of life, what does it matter if we're getting paid more? Because we're going to be bringing that back to our feminine sisters.
Because they want to live that single life. They want to be like, I don't need no man. They don't want to work, fellowship, build bonds with, get married. They don't want these things. I did a reaction to, do women know that they're living vicariously through harlots? And one of the women said that she wants a baby, right? She has to have a baby with a good man. But she was not content on marriage. She said, oh, well, I get married if there's a good man. But she was really pressed to having a baby. But don't you have to have a good man to have a baby? What you want to do? I mean, there's plenty of women who don't know or care who the father is. So it's just like things like this. It's like society has geared up some of you sisters, I mean, I won't say a lot of you sisters, to not like your masculine counterpart, right? Some of you have a personal vendetta against us, right?
Because they be trying to compete.
And then that's another thing. There's two ways. We're going to get to it. And the quote that I came up with, we're going to get to it. There's two ways that masculine energy deals with any type of threat: by force or aversion, right? So we have that issue. Then women going to be like, well, what about all the men who hate women, right? Does that man affect you getting a man? I'm just asking the real questions, right? And it's not the vast vicissitude of men who hate women. There's a lot more women who hate men. You want to know why? Because there's a lot of single mothers, right? And those single mothers teach their child, they teach their daughters, hey, you don't depend on no man, so on and so forth. A lot of men are in jail or somewhere else, right? So it creates this void of, you guys are teaching the next generation, right? Which can breed and create a stronger disposition to men.
So let me nip that in the bud right quick. What's that word called? Is it when they say that men hate women? What's that?
When you're talking about being a misogynist.
Yeah, there we go. Misogyny. If you are a man exuding masculinity, at the end of the day, like we said about what it means to be a man, where we're providing, where we are leading, where we are intelligent, where we are walking forth in our strength, what real masculine man would hate women? Because if we're over here exuding what it is to be masculine, we would need that counterpart to balance out our life. We would need that feminine role right beside us to make sure that, hey, we have some construct of life where we have peace, where we have help.
Well, a lot of women don't understand that they don't know how to provide peace. They think they do, but they don't, right? I had a great conversation, right, with my wife, and I was talking to her, and was talking about humbly asking, right? Doing a humble petition, just asking questions. And I was explaining to her, I was like, when you humbly ask someone something, one answer is good enough. At tops two. That's it. Right? And I want to give the same example that I gave her. I said, imagine a man and a woman, right? In the same confinements, they're living together. And she's like, hey, pick up from the store what you want for dinner, just let me know. All right, cool. Goes to the store. You got all the simple ingredients for chicken stew. Comes back. Wife is like, Oh, okay, babe. What did you want? Chicken stew. So I see that you didn't pick up any other ingredients like onions, green peppers. Why is that? I just want a simple meal chicken stew, right? Humbly asking any questions after this is not humble anymore. Well, babe, I really feel as though that we're missing out, and no matter how you say this, you're like, well, babe, I really feel as though we're missing out. You're not humbly asking anymore, right? Because if the time window for you to ask these questions and get this done was past already, now you're inquiring, you're investigating, and you're making the matter much bigger than it has to be, right? But they don't understand that these questions like this, perpetually, all the time, will actually destroy a man's peace. Then you wonder why men don't talk. Let's bring up this quote real quick. Let's get it out. Let me bring it to the next one. Let me switch that past. We gotta come back to that one. Masculinity in its nature will only allow people, thoughts, and places that further it. Any and all things that encroach upon its nature will be seen as a threat and will be handled by force or aversion. That's a lot that's being said right there. Think about this, right? Masculinity, right? And will only allow people, thoughts, and places that further it. Right? That is the only time you're going to see a masculine man, is when he is allowed to show that he is masculine, to be masculine. When he's not allowed to show it, that means there's one or two things that he has to do. He has to fight for his masculinity, or he has to go somewhere else that his masculinity is accepted. Those are the only two options.
Or they give you another appropriate behavior out here to submit.
And then, hey, that's his. But that's the thing. That's the aversion, right? That's the, like, for instance, that would be in that aspect of just the conversation we just had. That would be like, yeah, babe, you're right. Yeah, babe, you're right. Right? Aversion, because she's ticking him off, right? She's now she has now realized that she is now stepped out of her feminine. Now she's inquiring, being assertive, and now is in the masculine role. Women don't understand how quick these things can shift, right? And now he's a virgin, Now, hey, he has one or two things. He could agree, right? Or he'd be like, can you just cook the food? Right? He's getting to that point. Can you just shut up and cook the food? They're like, oh, that's so toxic. But it's just like, well, where did you go wrong in this? I don't know. I was just asking questions. But when did your intent on the questions change? For your first question was, okay, what happened? You didn't get any more. I just wanted a simple meal. Your intent after that now was to grill him. No matter how you said it, no matter how you did it, your intent now changed. Well, now I got to show him that he really missed out. That's what happened. That's what you communicated. It's just that simple. So then women will you like, well, I don't understand why, I can't ask questions. The intent of your questions vastly changed. And now you started a emotional assault on this man without you even thinking that you was doing it. Very simple. Everything I said was logical, but not looked at. How simple matters can actually put a man being uncomfortable. Then women's like, well, why is he getting his feelings? It's just a few questions. Why are you asking all these questions after he did probably work? So on and so forth throughout the day. No one likes to be, they feel, as if a man starts feeling you're pestering him, no one likes to feel like they're being pestered. Well, I guess because it's a man, he's supposed to have more emotional intelligence. He's supposed to just be able to sit there and take it. He's supposed to just not tell you. But then you have a man telling you, and now you want to be looking at me and say, oh, well, you're being too emotional. Make up your mind. Do you want to listen to the information I'm saying or not? It's just that simple. A lot of y'all have to make up your mind on, do you want to understand masculinity and submit to it, or do you just want to hate on it more? And every man knows what I just said is true. Point blank, period. It's the women who want to understand masculinity. And most men, we understand it to some degree. We can always sharpen up a few areas. We can always become better. But these things are innate in us. This will innately make a man feel as though he has to avert or use force. Ak, you want to say anything before we go back to that other slide that's get past?
No, let's keep it moving. You hitting it on point, man. All I can do is stay calm. Big facts.
Big con. All praises. The defamation of masculinity is currently meeting its destruction by contemporary women, simple men, and the next generation only knows this, which further destroys us. You know, back to the first quote that I put up, true masculinity, traditional masculinity that has been shown over the history of time, masculinity that we all refer to. We understand that men could do bad things and women could do bad things. So don't just try to avert your eyes to the historical things that were bad by men, right? Because you want to know something else? We, in history, look at the news. Do we write down all the good things that happen on every day, or do we write down everything, how every person got massacred, right? So do you think history is much different? Or that when we generally only write down the bad things? Something to consider. Now, contemporary women do not facilitate traditional femininity, which puts masculinity at its point of either fighting for force or by aversion, right? This is the adapting, right? Well, she don't like it when I do this, but when that roach comes in, when the robber comes in, I'm supposed to be masculine. Okay? Then they'll be like, okay, at least I can still be masculine when it comes to the bedroom. Well, she's trying to restrict when this happens, that happens, right? Then you wonder why a lot of men are miserable, why there's a lot of infidelity. But you have systematically destroyed this man and don't even understand it. Not out here advocating for infidelity. I'm not out here to advocate for that. I'm just here to help you systematically understand how to avoid that on your behalf. If you're not doing any of these things, shout out to you. And if you didn't do any of these things and that man still did that, that's a bad man. Simple, right? I can say that. It came out my mouth, right? So just wanted to understand how some of you women who think you are feminine are actually emasculating the man, and you don't understand it, you don't consider it, you don't know it. And guess what? There's two things that man's going to do. Either by words, emotional, spiritual, or physical, he's going to remove it by force, or he's going to avert it. It's what we do.
Because when you're destroying something, and as a man, let's say we've been building ourselves up, we definitely gonna make sure that we protect it. And one of the things in this day in society is what I'm seeing, people are not protecting the reputation of what it is to be a man. People are not protecting the insight or the qualities or the characteristics of what it means of masculinity having a good sense in this world. Let me interact with the chat right quick. Y'all see this picture on the screen. y'all see what's going on with these two male counterparts. Let's interact a little bit by
They in
show
tune to
of,
the divine feminine.
you know. hey, is this the characteristics of men? Are they portraying the qualities of men right in this picture? Let me know, chat. Let's see who we talking to. Because moving forward, we got to be able to understand that there are certain roles that we play as men that needs to be protected. Otherwise, the lines are going to get blurred. And then you have pretty much the reputation of what it means to be a man being diminished.
Con.
So how you expect for a society to grow if there's no man?
Con.
And then the women don't even know how to be a woman anymore because nobody's guiding them.
Con. And then on top of that, scratch that no one's guiding them, but there's no masculine men that's going to make them be feminine. You know, I'm going to take it like this. Women don't like it, but you put a very masculine man, right? And you put a semi-masculine woman, right? She doesn't really understand everything that's going on. That man is not going to tolerate none of her BS, right? He's going to check that woman. Now, either she's going to submit to it or she's not. But if she submits to it, then she's going to start moving closer and closer to femininity, right? Because that man understands what he will and will not tolerate. He understands how he's supposed to conduct himself. See, a woman could literally learn femininity by being around masculine men, right? But I'm going to tell you like this. It's very hard for a man to learn masculinity around feminine women because there's nothing to check them. So they want to effeminize the man. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very hard. I mean, take it like this. Once again, I want to say one of these trigger words. Take a single mom. Have a son. Son wants to play sports. Mother wants to nurture him, doesn't want him to play sports. Right? Say, I'm too worried about this, and this. Right? She swallows him. She's like a helicopter mom, helicopter parents, right? This encroaches upon his masculinity, especially if he has no male role models, he has no brothers. If he don't have these things, and you're always stopping him from hanging out with his friends, right? You are sheltering him, right? He can't yell at his mom. He can't tell his mom to get off my back, right? Because now that's being disrespectful, right? So you are putting him in a position that, hey, masculinity, what does it do? By force or aversion, his only option is aversion. Now he only understands how to only avert things. He does not know how to confront things. Now he's waning on his masculinity.
Lacking leadership.
Because
not having strength. And I ain't even talk about physical strength because
he has no mental fortitude.
Exactly. So how do you expect for this person to lead a society or even give back input that leads to progress?
Yeah. And that mother will still be seen as a good mom, right? See, now let's take the same role. Let's take a good father, right? Single father, let's just say, I don't know, mom passed, right? Because it's really hard for women to consider that there are men who have their daughters, right? Now, do good fathers? Good fathers baby their daughter a lot, right? They want to do ballerina practice, they're doing that. They want to do this, they're doing that, right? And as long as he's able to set the boundaries in certain areas, that girl is going to be feminine, right? She's not just going to openly manipulate her father, right? Because now it's dependent upon him to be masculine. But you know what? It's fine for her to do this, But no, you cross the line right there. That's a wrap. Right?
It's really promoted out here for men to display this feminine quality where you have people losing the sense of what it means to have the true characteristics of a provider, a leader, someone who is strong mentally, spiritually, and physically. And in these relationships that you were talking about with the single women, how can a young man receive that? And is it even promoted by that woman? Or can they only give them what is inside of them? And then it's like, yeah, I can provide, yeah, I can be strong, but then you see majority of the men that come from those situations, you see what they pander towards.
Mm-hmm. Man, they the type of brother that would be like, a woman press up on them because they find them interesting. They'd be like, whoa, why are you talking to me like this? Like, get away from me, right? And it's not because they don't like girls, because they over here beating themselves up about what they acting, but they just don't know how to be them around someone who is their other counterpart because they had an overbearing femininity riding over them the whole time, and it terrifies them, right? But this woman, this girl that has her interest, she's not like that, but he's worried that it's going to get like that, and he doesn't know how to set any boundaries. You see it all the time. You see it all the time. If you actually generally study, you think back in school. I can think back to a few different people who stayed with their mom, even if they saw their fathers time to time. You look at how they dealt with women, and they just didn't know how. They just did not know how. It's a true thing. It really does exist.
Yeah, so what we hitting at, masculinity definitely plays a role in kids knowing their relationships with their mother and father and how to even interact in society, because there has been some blurred lines lately where is this behavior appropriate for a little boy? Is this behavior appropriate for a little girl? Where I I want to be able to make sure that my family grows up and know who they are and operate in purpose. Jocelyn, yeah, I see you, man. His comment got me. Oh my goodness.
yeah, he needs to be stopped.
No provisions, man. And as a man of intelligence, as a man that's a leader, someone who wants to provide and make sure that our community is safe, we're going to have rules and regulations. Let's be real about it. We have rules and regulations on what we do within our own vessels. So we want to be able to exude that in the environment. Now you got people of, let me say, male bodies that exude this belief of, oh, I'm masculine and feminine. But then it's like, okay, how are you both? And what is the characteristics of that? Oh, well, I can be strong here, and then, I could give some leeway because, I'm nurturing. I want to make sure everybody grows. No, as a man, we're supposed to be firm and direct. You're supposed to have direct orders. We're supposed to be able to say, this is how it needs to be done. This is what you need to do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, because when we go outside of that constraint, anything's acceptable.
I mean, I got a clip that I want to show y'all something, and I can't find the original clip of the woman commentating over this, right? But it's for those who listen to this on playback, it's Tiger Woods and Charlie, right? It's his son, and the way that his son acts is just like his father, right? You about to catch him doing a lot of things that looks just like his father because his father's been around him. Swings even similar, right? The way that they celebrate similar. the way that they walk similar, right? Now, obviously, swing is something that might be taught, but these other things, that facial expressions and things of that sort, can only be mimicked, right? Can only be picked up, right? It's not something his father didn't tell him, okay, stand like this, cross your feet like that, But you can really see that that son is just like his dad, how he's supposed to be, right? If you women don't want your children, your son, to be like his father, then y'all need to not. That should not have been your child's father, right? If you're worried about creating another little mini, whoever your husband is or whoever your boyfriend is, right? Then you should not be dealing with that person.
They be trying to create mini thems. And so here is what I see. They get together with this man that obviously has no reverence for the Most High. They wicked man. They procreate. They separate the man from the woman. You have the woman exuding some type of feminine, masculine role where she's like, I'm the provider now, and this all trickles down to the child being affected, where she's just like, oh, I don't want you growing up like your father. They even try to use that in a way where it's demeaning. You don't want me growing up like my dad, who obviously that's where I came from. Yeah. I want to be able to portray masculinity, and I want to be able to go out here and be an example of what it means to do right in this world. But how can you do that if it's not in front of you, if it's not even promoted? And then you have a sense of where masculinity comes in and tries to give this child direction on what it means to be either a woman or a man, and it's not accepted.
It's interesting because that clip that I just showed with Tiger and Charlie, right, really shows the impact of training up the child the way that they should go, right? Like it shows how much of an impact your children actually absorb the communications, relationships that you have, right? And I'm not here just to bash women, right? That's not what I'm really here to do. I'm here to talk about masculinity, but masculinity is entwined with femininity, right? It's very common in our community that most people are raised by single mothers, right? Now, these are some tendencies that single moms can push on. Let's just say 60% of the time. Well, if it's like 90% of our population are raised like this, right, without both counterparts in the household, right, then that's a huge issue. That's almost 60% of our people have had some type of dealings with this, because like I said, it's not like a 90 ratio, it's almost 100%. So if these things are happening, right, these things are happening frequently, and 60s to being very conservative, to be honest, right? Because just like the whole eating situation, it's very subtle, right? But it's profound when you actually think about it. It's profound. And there sometimes when we only talk about, well, I've been hurt this way, I've been hurt this way, I've been hurt this way, you never think about how your pains have made you hurt other people that you never intended to. Right? You never understood that, okay, because he had a deadbeat father, or because you didn't have your father in your life, that when raising your child, you might do some tendencies that might hurt your son, even though that's not your intention. So instead of you trying to just automatically heal from these things, you should find a good masculine role model, or, their father should be in their lives so that they have an example that they can go off of. And if you do any type of damage, right, trauma or anything like that, it can be reprimanded, it can be handled by a good masculine man to help their son understand these things and move past them, so it does not create more issues, right? Y'all have the womb, right? And you want to understand how not to keep having these effeminate men. Y'all over here like, no, he's a buster, he's a duck. You know what I'm saying? But don't understand where you guys are contributing to this issue. And y'all contributed to it on a different level. Just trying to bring awareness.
By promoting the femininity, man. And you'll see a dude out here creating artwork, or you'll see a dude out here making a song. You already know what's being heavily advertised as these men who have no constraints on their emotions and just are all over the place as far as, oh man, I'm gonna go ahead and catch me one. You feel me? They ain't building nothing if you're talking about ops you trying to catch, bro. So is that truly masculine? Is that someone who walks around and look at how strong I am? Like it. That's what I think that the confusion gets into place, because people, when they hear the word masculine, they hear about a man just trying to tear down everything.
Well, I'm gonna say it like this: why is that the case? But when we hear femininity, we don't think about someone who's always being belligerent, right? And that is it, right? That is the case. Let's just say every man, when they hear femininity, they just are completely repulsed by it, right? Which that needs to be fixed if that's the case, but that's not the case. It's not. We say that, a lot of women have lost femininity because we understand that's not tied to femininity, right? We need to allow there to be masculinity. And you know what? Some women have gotten so comfortable being masculine that they don't want to submit, right? They don't want to be feminine, right? If femininity was forced upon them, they would call it slavery. Right? And that's an issue. Right? I can't sit here and make someone love who they were designed to be. Right? But what I can bring out is how systematically, emotionally, mentally, you're out of balance and you're out of whack. Right? And that's why when you see other sisters with their man, whatnot, and they seem all happy, you envy them. Right? You're jealous because you want what they have, but you won't do what they had to do to get there. And they had to let their guards down. They had to want to be more feminine. They had to submit to the dominant masculinity, right? In order to get those things. But you over here trying to take a slingshot, right? And you're trying to tie the rock onto the sling instead of letting it go. You can't walk around saying every man is toxic, but then you look at your sister or you look at your girlfriend, so on, they have a good man. You're like, man, why can't all men be like them? There are men out there like them. Are you sure you're not chasing any of them away from the way that you act? Because when you look at your sister or your girlfriend, the way that she acts around her man, vastly different than how she talks to you or deals with you. See, she's putting up a front with you because in all actuality, if her man called her right now, she's gone. It's a wrap. She's like, oh, I'm sorry, girls. Man called me. Gone. She don't have that man on a leash. Not no healthy relationship. A man's on a leash. I'm just letting you know. They lied to you. They actually submit 10 times more than they really tell you about. Mm-hmm. Right? Because that's what is conducive to the relationship. But they got an image to uphold because, y'all bad bitches. See? Sometimes your own friends won't even keep it $150 on what they do with their man because they're ashamed of how society has made them look. So just keeping that in mind. You ready for the next slide?
Let's do it.
Oh, there you go. So the real question now is masculinity on a decline or exited? Like, are men of valor just deciding to exit? Where's masculinity headed? Real talk. Masculinity and development, behaviors affecting growth of men. Do men engage in society as males with ambition, the tendency to lead? If these things ain't here, where are they going to go? Well, you have heard an uptick on divestors. You have heard an uptick of men traveling. Right? Then, because you think you're equal to the man, you want to say that traveling, well, I could travel too. So here's the thing with America, right? Our society is vastly different than other societies, right? Over there, there's a lot more masculine men and a lot way more feminine women. And I want to say like this: yes, they have their own issues, right? They have situations where some women are acting more masculine than they're used to, but they're still way more feminine than a lot of women here. And this is where a lot of people are going to go, right? This is where a lot of masculinity. This is why you keep hearing so many guys saying, "Well, I went to Brazil. Well, I went to Vietnamese. Well, I went here. I went to Thailand. I went here," right? And the women are completely different over there, right? Because by force or aversion, right? There are some men who are willing to stick it out, but to say that, hey, getting screamed at 20 times out the day just trying to talk to some woman, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Femininity as a whole needs to be re-injected back into our society. And guess what? If things hit the fan first, trust and believe these men are going to be using full advantage of your disadvantage. Trust and believe it. Because there's wicked people out there. But also because you waited until calamity struck before you got shelter. Go ahead, Art.
And just hitting on the point of masculinity development. I like how you put up that Tiger Woods and his son, just to be able to give the people something to see.
Mm-hmm.
How can you develop the characteristics of a man if you don't see those characteristics of a man? And as we were able to interact with the chat earlier and how we put a picture up, we identified that that was not the characteristics of a man. Out here in society, you can use these TV screens, you can use social media, you can use all facets to perpetuate what it is to be a man. But in reality, is it true? Is it the very purpose and essence of a man, or is this someone's agenda? If we're not having the truth of what it is of masculinity, how are we going to develop it? And then in turn, what behaviors are going to be shown? And is this going to affect the growth of man? Where you have people in the society that don't even have ambition. You just have them following along, getting along, literally cannot speak up for what they want because they always just followed after the certain rules and mandates and conditions being in place by a government. Real man, well, what I've seen, what I had the experience of just going through in my life, they lead, not based on someone trying to govern their mental. No, they are able to do that successfully on their own. You really have America out here trying to set a standard for men that is false. The characteristics of man aren't even real.
That same standard would have even last for how America was developed.
My point exactly. And where you have this being diluted in society. And now we're questioning, oh man, should men and women even be together? And now we see it. majority of men out here don't even exude a characteristic of what it means to provide, lead, show strength, and just have the overall intelligence to communicate.
And here's the thing, family. I really wanted to point out. You're like, well, you try to make it sound like man just got it all. He's supposed to want to get it all. He's supposed to want to be that man who, man, you can put him in any situation. He's good. He's capable. You can put him on the battlefield. He got it. You put him in the office. He got it. Put him out in the wilderness. He got it. Put him in the library. He got it. He's supposed to want to be this man of multiple talents, multiple traits, and it's just well-rounded, right? That is who he wants to be. That is who he's trying to be. A masculine man, right? You know, not one that just goes straight off into only physical, not one that just only goes off into purely theoretical, not only the ones that just goes off into these random offshoots, right? But in all actuality, a man's supposed to want to conquer the whole world through himself, right? Doing how great is he, right? And not an aspect of prideful and boastful, right? But you do give honor to where honors due, respect to where respect due. So don't let your pride stop from giving your accolades to men who have done those things. See how that goes, right? But yes, masculine men should want to conquer multiple aspects and attributes of their life, right? And that is how we're going to speak of men, because that's the ideal man, right? That is the biggest ideal of masculinity, is a man who put him in multiple situations. He's always exuding masculinity. He's not taken off guard, right? You might have to take a moment to recalibrate, theorize of a plan, get a few resources together, but then he's hitting the ground running, right? Because those are the type of men that actually move the society forward, period. Right?
Men that are led from their own essence, men that have a government of self and not told what to do from any outside entity. But like we were hitting on, how you gonna be a man out here and then in turn you don't have any ambitions, no goals to progress? As we had this conversation earlier in this stream, I asked you what it is to be a man, what it is to exude masculinity. And for anyone in question, when I do talk to a brother, I'm like, hey, what is your goal out here? What is your purpose? Where are you at and where are you trying to go? As a man, there should be some place that we're trying to go, something that we're trying to build, giving the reverence to the Most High for giving us another day to be able to continue within that purpose. There seems a point in time where this role of having some type of ambition or characteristics of just trailblazing has taken a back seat, because men are now like, oh, well, I could just stay at home, or the government will take care of it, or another man will take care of me if I hey, and is that the characteristics of a man?
Right. And it's different after you build an empire, after you build a name, because then right there you have the discretion on whether to maintain or expand, right? But when your children come, right, because they're supposed to be taking over this empire, you're supposed to be showing them how to expand successfully. Because guess what? Now this is their baseline. They mean nothing if they maintain your company for 20 years and have not made any logistical moves. It will be much better off if they tried something, they lose the whole company, right? And they start up and build up another one. It would be much better off for themselves, for what they learned, what they gained on that journey, right? Because guess what? You have lived your life. You have done the things you were supposed to do. Now it's time to hand it off to the next, right? I never really fully understand when brothers get older, they have sons, and their sons want to ambitiously understand and take over the business, and they don't want to show them how, right? They're like, oh, no, wait later, right? Instead of showing them the tricks of the trade, right? And then trusting the son, giving them the responsibility, right? Because that's the only way they're going to excel or fail. And failure is always something that it lurks around the corner. But if it stops you, you're going to be the biggest failure for never trying. You know?
Facts.
Here's what Israel said: a masculine man first off conquers himself first and foremost. Absolutely. I mean, you can't do anything else besides that. You cannot lead nobody if you don't know how to lead yourself. You cannot be strong for nobody if you can't be strong for yourself. You can't provide for nobody if you can't put food on your own plate. Or you can't be intelligent or teach somebody something if you can't learn something, right? And teach it to yourself if necessary, right? Those are all things that you must be able to do first within yourself. Just like a woman nurturing. Well, how can you nurture a house if you can't keep your room clean? You know what I'm saying?
How can you feed a family if you can't feed yourself?
Some good food, right? So it's like it always starts with self. It always starts with yourself. If you're narcissistic, this is where people fail. If you think that you're God and so on and so forth, but this is where you fail. Because in order to prevail, to overcome, you have to conquer yourself because you know there's more outside of yourself. All right. Yahuwah Baal said he's a real jack of all trades trying to master them all, masculine. Yes. And guess what? A jack of all trades could be a person who knows inside and out the technology business, right? So whatever that is, right? Like I want to also explain this, right? It might not be everyone's personal, every man's personal thing to be like, okay, I can bench press, I don't know, 405 and so on and so forth, and I could deadlift 800 pounds, which these are reasonable numbers that you can actually work up towards and get one day, right? That might not be him, right? He might be one who's very proficient, right? Might be able to do 315 or 225 for X amount of weight, right? And then excels in other areas. So you have to understand that even with yourself as a man, right, there's things that's going to take up your time, right? So you give your passions the most time, but you do your other things that keeps you well-rounded as well, right? For instance, exercise, content curating, right? Reading, studying, running Patreon. All these things take up my time. I got to make sure that, hey, I might have a real big passion on working out and a real big passion on Patreon, but I can't let that stop my content production, right? So then I need to modulate, right? So it's all things of like, okay, when you are trying to be and trying to expand yourself, you also can't stop the maturity of growth that you gain along the way, right? Because that's how you start getting burned out, right? You start trying to learn about astrophysics, and then at that same time you're working 10 hours at the job. Then you still have to work out, you still have to stretch, you still have to tend to this and do this and do this, and you're spreading yourself thin. You need to think rationally, right? Because then you let your emotions of saying, well, I want to be this in this part. Hold up, stop, chill. Think about rationally how you can actually acquire these skills while not dropping them, right? Some things you might only be able to do once a month. Some things you might have to do twice a week. Some things you have to do daily, right? Meditation on the scriptures daily is something you can't give up, right? No matter how much it might seem as a burden because of the other things you want to acquire. See, being a jack of all trades and a master and trying to be a master of all sounds nice, but how much of it is attainable for yourself with reasonable discretion? That is something to keep in mind. That is definitely something you got to keep in mind. All right, let's get that last slide.
We in here. The qualities of a man. Gender perversion or evolution? Let's question it. Let's question it. Are men becoming more masculine, or are they tapping into their divine feminine? Can a man be feminine and masculine? Is society threatened by a man who holds views of patriarchy?
Sheesh.
And are men supposed to lead or be led? Let's be real. In this day and age where they talk about evolution and things just being technologically advanced, I look at men as taking a backseat to technology now, because there seems to be no growth. There seems to be no progress. In many times, I see regression, because as I turn on even the TV or social media, I can't say that I see men being promoted nowadays. I can't say that those are the qualities of what a man is being perpetuated onto society. So in my eyes, I see a bunch of gender perversion going on. And I'm gonna answer the first question. No, a man cannot be feminine and masculine. That man
I mean,
will have both qualities in one. And you already know what they be on.
so I'm gonna say it like this, right? That question right there poses that there's something wrong with femininity or masculinity, right? So you shouldn't. A man shouldn't have to be feminine, right? And a woman shouldn't have to be masculine, right? They're diametrically opposed. And it's crazy to think that when people add balance to their responses, that now that makes them more this or makes them more that, right? I can honestly, right? Any brother in here can be masculine, right? And they hear someone pass, they didn't go into their femininity when they start crying, right? That's not femininity, right? That's a response that man's going to take and a woman's going to take. Now, how long they may cry, where they may cry, that might be different. That's actually where you're going to start seeing the femininity and masculinity start playing, right? How they conduct themselves after the cry, right? Before the cry, right? Now you're seeing the difference between masculine and feminine. But people just feel like, oh, you cried, so on and so forth. Well, what are you crying about? Right? They make it seem like masculinity can't stand on its own or femininity can't stand on its own and allow the other person to be that. Right? So I do want to show that does I'm sorry, man. I got sidetracked by the chat. I do want to put that out there. And in society threatened by men who hold views of patriarchy. I mean, you already know a group talks about patriarchy all the time. And to say that, to say this, what is the other one? Patriarchy and it's like monarchy. No, it's like matriarchy. That's for women running everything. Women run everything, right? It's predominantly all women and no men. You won't have any more masculine men. Period. It will be the destruction of it. And you'll have very masculine females. Just saying.
What was that place called? The Amazon women, or where they banished the women away and they had their matriarchy on that island?
Jeez.
Because they ain't want, they wanted a whole patriarchy. They ain't want the women over there. The women didn't want to be with the man because they they were displaying both feminine and masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And so the women just went away and start tuning more into their divine masculine, and they ain't want men involved. So it's like, really, when we separate the two, then we are able to become one. But to say that we embody both feminine and masculine, that's when the separation of our physical bodies occur, because we're trying to play the role that the opposite is here for. What sense does that make? What progress would that entail if our help meet isn't helping? And I see a lot of it lately, man. People are definitely threatened by someone who looks as though they can rule and have firm discipline out here, because let's be real, not many people have that vessel of responsibility. They're not being held accountable for what they do and partake in on a daily basis, and definitely don't want to be told to do anything from certain higher ups. Well, unless it's a person in a white coat or government. I guess that's the only way people will follow in this society.
So, what's interesting is that there was like an interesting dichotomy with that. So when it goes with our women, if it's another nationality telling them what to do, they're gonna do it. When it goes to those other nationalities, right? They don't like listening to their own man. It's weird, right? But you put one of us over them, right? Either they're gonna hate them or they're going to be like pulled in a very weird way. But I'm gonna leave that alone. I am going to say like this, is that when it comes to patriarchy, when it comes to listening to what a man says, right? Because they're typically the ones holding these powerful positions. There wasn't an issue when the country had to be founded. Okay, this wasn't an issue. Wasn't an issue when the laws had to be founded. You'd be like, well, women didn't have a. Okay, so here's the thing with those arguments, right? Put a woman out on the battlefield right now. All women. Take all the men off, put all the women up. Right? Because they're equal. You should just be able to change them. Why is it that women truly have conceived and taught themselves that they have to be equal to men? There's things that y'all shine at, and there's things that men shine at. And it's like the pride slept in and made everyone haughty, right? Made everyone not want to respect men. And then they carry their certain tendencies, right? And then it makes men not want to respect women whatsoever, right? And it's a bad cyclical cycle. But then when someone breaks the cycle, you want to indoctrinate them and pull them right back in, right? When you see that sister who doesn't have a hate for men, you want to teach her to hate men. When you see that brother who is masculine, you want to emasculate him, right? Or you want to teach him to hate women, right? So this needs to be confronted. This needs to be understood, right? Because either masculinity is going to fight it or it's going to avert. You want to see just little cliques of guys over here, little cliques over there, nowhere to be found when y'all need them because they're doing what they want to do. Right. So let me see this real quick. Don says, sorry, but us soldiers waiting on the Christian group to catch up. War and pray for real. War ain't just spiritual. We need folks to know this. The war is coming soon. I want to address that. I don't expect those Christians to catch up anytime soon. Anyone who's listening to that as a Christian, I'm going to say it like this. There's certain things that you say you follow, but you don't follow in your alleged book, right? And that puts a confliction of interest when it deals with development of character, right? If the scripture says that everything in there is good for reproof, and then you tell me that there's things in there that don't hold no weight, it's either the teacher is wrong or the scriptures is wrong. And I want to say the teacher is wrong every day. So I don't plan on, people who already don't have distinct gender roles in their churches, right? Allow drags and so on and so forth to be in there and to influence the youth and to harm their perspective of life and how life actually does come into this world. So, yeah, the war is coming, and it's only the watchmen. That's why the Messiah said, well, those with ears, let them hear. Those with eyes, let them see. But the rest, it is what it is. It's how long will we pray for the people who don't want to be prayed for? Right? Like this masculinity topic, this is only for people who have ears to hear. Everyone else, we already triggered and they ran away. That's fine. It wasn't for them then. Right? It probably would benefit them, but it wasn't for them. They didn't allow it to be for them. What are we going to do? Take this video and just shove them in their face 24/7 like an ad? Nah, I'm good on that. Right? So, yeah, change is coming. Masculinity is going to be very necessary in the upcoming few months, maybe year or so, or two. And when that comes, I understand that your position, if it was not solidified beforehand, now you are in a dire situation, right? It's kind of like this. Before inflation, right, you was able to buy, $200, $300 worth of groceries, and that would be enough for a month. You saved up on that. You start growing your food. You're paying less money for your own food. Now you're trying to do the same thing during inflation, spending $500, $600. And it's not even a good season to plant certain foods because, there's different seasons for everything, right? So now you're in a dire situation. You see how it was a steeper price to pay by you not getting on board? I mean, the person who had it made is a person who was farming years ago, right? So, and I wouldn't mean commercially farming because they're struggling right now. I'm talking about a person who was self-sustainable years ago. And that's the same thing that's going to happen with masculinity, because when masculinity shines is when you understand that everything around you is not certain. Then the value of masculinity comes and shines forth. But when you think everything is certain, that's when femininity comes. Like when you have a shelter, take it like this, right? The man has to buy a shelter. You see his worth. Then the woman takes the shelter, make it a home. You see her worth. Her worth shined the best when the shelter was made known. But when it was uncertain, everything was uncertain, the man shined. So when uncertainty comes, masculinity shines forth. When security is there, femininity can shine. But whenever that female goes out and be like, well, I have this house, right? And then a man leaves, right? He goes to build another shelter because she kicked him out, right? Now she's back uncertain. She doesn't know it because she thinks she's protected by the home. But what happens when there's a predator, right? That's uncertainty. Boom. Now masculinity is one of them. See, but the thing is this. That man who left, he has done away. The only way that he will even consider taking her back is if she is absolutely humbled. That's just how it goes. And that's what I'm talking about. So, when the time comes and these masculine women want to be feminine, I'm saying now, it's much better now than waiting. The best time is now. You want to hit on these wise words real quick?
Shoot, let's hit them with this one last topic, man.
John.
So pretty much hitting on what it is that's preferred from a man today. What attributes, what characteristics, what is being supplied of man qualities out here? What is being advertised? What's the lifestyle of man? And then let's really be able to identify the purpose that the Most High gave men. Because once we tie that all in, we know how we're supposed to act. We know how we're supposed to be behaving out here. We know what lifestyle needs to be advertised. So just to be able to wrap it all up in one masculinity is something that we're supposed to have pride in. We're not supposed to have people out here changing up the characteristics of how man's supposed to be able to operate in this society. And then also how we advertising ourselves as individual men out here. because everybody looks at us as being an extension of what masculinity is. As far as I'm talking to men right now, so the way that you behave, the way that you act, the characteristics and the attributes that you have, it plays a role on the bigger part of society. What is the preferred role of how we interact with society?
Huh. Preferred role or a necessary role, though, is a question. Because I hear emotions. Well, I prefer this. Well, is that needed? No, it's just a preference. Oh, well, don't need to be done. See, and that's kind of the issue, right? We are at a state right now, currently, even though things are on a moral decay and so on and so forth, we're in a state that we feel as though we're in a luxury. And that luxury quickly leaves when you understand that you're in a place of scarcity. Right? Everyone wants to hate on masculinity right now because they feel as though they don't need masculinity. But then when masculinity shines the best and their affinity to masculinity is shown that it's not that strong, right? Then they understand that masculinity was never a luxury but a necessity, right? Because these things could have happened at any time, right? So why is it that, you know what's even crazier? Is that the people who have the biggest propensity to looking to the future and the aspect of things going up or down is the masculine energy because they prepare for things. That's how they work. The ones that kind of see things happening, who is that? It's mainly men. So the ones who have some of the best understanding, not the only the ones who have the best, but some, are the ones that you want to fight against. It's like, for instance, if you're going on a sea, right, and you have a captain, right, and he's like, man, I can see a storm coming from the way the wind picked up and the way that the boonies are moving. We have a storm coming in about a day. Everyone out there is like, a day? Bro, it's clear skies. What are you talking about? Then the storm comes. No one prepared. Right? Captain prepared. His sailors prepared, but the people inside didn't prepare. Now, in this situation, everyone's going to make it out alive, right? Because of the people who was in charge. But in the situation that we're in currently is that the captain, right, is not the one who is controlling the boat. You have the people who don't know anything controlling the boat, or people who have very little knowledge controlling the boat. When this happens, the captain's going to be prepared. The sailor's going to be prepared. They're going to save their lives, right? And everyone else will be like, well, what happened? Why did you warn us? You didn't listen. You didn't listen. So, all right, let's hit these wise words real quick. Wrap this up. All right. Proverbs 31:3. Give not thy strength unto women, nor the ways to that which destroyeth kings. You know, if you don't allow yourself, and by men, I mean, if you don't be a man and you allow a woman to dictate when you can and cannot be a man, you are giving yourself to a way that can destroy kings. You will do very foolish things. You will do things that's not conducive, that goes against you. You won't be able to speak up when you see things are going south. There's a lot of problematic things that will happen. Especially when you're the one listening to a woman, right? But the other kings, the other people you're going against are not. They understand war, but you're taking advice from someone who doesn't. Very big. Very big.
Being a battle axe for the Lord.
Lord. Yo, Cog. Proverbs 21:9. It is better to dwell in a corner of a housetop, or on a roof, rather, than to be with a brown woman in a wild house. It's better to be in the attic, right, than it is to be with a brown woman.
A masculine woman.
Yes, because to be honest, it could only really go two ways. Either you're going to do something that will be looked down upon in society, or you're going to allow this woman to do something that is just atrocious upon yourself. Let's get it. Proverbs 21:19. It's better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and angry woman. See, it's interesting how these scriptures make a point that a woman who is not in her femininity, it's better for that masculine man to go somewhere else. It never tells us, hey, you know what? Contend with her. No. Doesn't. She ain't out here killing you. I ain't gonna tell you to contend. Or she ain't out here trying to literally put hands on you. Right? I ain't gonna tell you to contend with no woman. Right? But if you see it going down this route, just remove yourself. Honestly. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is rottenness in his bones. And those are some of the wise words according to Proverbs and the book of the Bible. All right. All right. So, with that being said, family, I hope that everyone who tapped in, tuned in, gained some wise insight on masculinity, right? On its true necessity and how, when it's not respected, it will either handle things by force or by aversion, and it can only live in places that understand that it has its role and it shall not be infringed upon or encroached.
Amen. Amen. Family, tap in, tune in. Brew Table Talks YouTube channel. If you haven't already, go subscribe. Go get in tune. That's where majority of the content, when we chop and screw it, is going to be over there. So please, if y'all haven't, like the video. Share the video if you got some edification. My co-host, Leon, the servant over here, man, putting in that work. Y'all already know how we come through. We get it in.
And that's my link right there. YouTube, Patreon, and IG. All in one link, right? And Patreons, we have something interesting to talk about. Actually, very similar to what Don was talking about. We got to do a Watchmen reports about some of the things that is happening, has happened in the last 3 weeks. I know I've been a little off, but we're going to come back to it. We're going to try to make sure that we stay on top of the ball. For everyone on YouTube, well, y'all going to be seeing me about an hour, 2 hours. I got another video for y'all, back-to-back streams. You know how we get down with it on Thursdays. Yeah, we gotta keep moving forward. We gotta keep pushing on. And Brew Table Talks, we want to keep eating.
Yes, sir.
Right, getting's good. Right. With that being said, family, it's your brother Leon Servant with Devon Lee. Shalom and peace.
Peace and blessings, my people. Until next time, family.